And thank you. We are live now at Democracy Radio Network. I'm your host, Abby Kaufman, ready for the Abby Kaufman Show. And I thought I'd start off by giving us a little musical treat. This is a parody of Jane's Addiction, and the song is Jane Says, which has been modified to Trump Says, Trump Lies. And let's hear a little bit of that. Don't know him anything, but he says. That's what he does. He lies again tomorrow, and today, and yesterday, and well into the future, though, judging by past experience. But we'll hit the pause button on that for a second because uh, last night I attended the Costa Mesa Democratic Club meeting in, needless to say, Costa Mesa. And the reason I went is that as Democracy Radio Network was formed to help elect Democrats and give them a platform, there's nothing like going to an actual meeting and just chatting with whoever's there. And there were two women, Kara Stewart and Kelly Brown, who are running for city council, who made really fine presentations. I can't imagine any of them not doing well in the general. So let's get behind these two, huh? And I tell you, I'll have more too. I'll come as things progress, but as of now, I think that Kara Stewart and Kelly Brown are extremely solid choices for Costa Mesa City Council, and they're just superior candidates who are dedicated. And in that all you really need is someone that's bright and dedicated, and kind of cares a little bit. And I'm going to contrast that with the cavalier way the White House treats the lives of others. If one American gets killed, heaven help you. But we kill 175 girls in a school in Iran, and instead of accepting responsibility, and let's just why don't we just leave it at that? You don't have to do anything. But instead of accepting responsibility, our peerless leader, because he is a peerless leader. There can't be another person that's stupid in office anywhere in the world. And it was funny. I saw a great post the other day, and it was, and I'm going to borrow from Mo Kelly here. Mo is a longtime radio guy and dynamite guy, Georgetown graduate, go Hoyas. And it's just awful. So anyway, what were we talking about? So moving right along, let's remember these two, and also at the Newport Beach Women's Democratic Club. Excuse me, I had the opportunity to very briefly chat with Judge Robert Mestman, Mestman, and Judge Amy Segal. I think that was Sagal, and it's AMI. I forgot middle initials S. But if you look her up, she is probably the only person with that name running for city council. I mean, running for judgeship. I'm sorry. So I said the way I see it is that Democrats really have an abundance of riches in the candidate department, and and it helps. I mean, not only are our candidates the better choices, but we have great choices within great choices. I mean, you could name half a dozen Democrats to run for any high profile seat in there, and they'll be more than qualified. Now, the interesting thing in California, was Eric Swalwell dropping out of the governor's race for California to succeed Gavin Newsom. And I got to tell you, I'm a Gavin Newsom fan. I think that as a and well, let's start with the premise that no politician is perfect. Okay, and no person is perfect. And politicians get held to an unbelievable standard by the hypocrites in the Republican Party and MAGA movement and all that. So what you get with Democrats are people that put the welfare of others ahead of the welfare of themselves and their families. You won't see a city council person uh, buying stock in something before a major news break. I mean, they with inside information, and we got to keep the markets integrity intact because despite it all, and I don't know for how much longer. I don't think a whole lot longer. But for right now, we are the biggest, baddest, and if we're not, China is our rival. Um, I don't know how many of you guys know this, but a couple of years ago, Tehran bought a Chinese satellite, and it was expensive, like $34 billion or something. Oh, maybe no, sorry, probably like 34 million. But anyway, that's a piece of change. And you would not believe how Tehran is using this particular Chinese satellite. They are using this particular Chinese satellite to target American bases across the Middle East. Now, I keep recalling something about no one would be harder on China but me, President Xi, so on and so forth. And the president was just way out of his league. I've repeated this. I'll do it again. I would like to meet anybody who sincerely thinks Trump can negotiate his way out of a wet paper bag, because he can't. And if he can't, the people that he chose, like Kushner and Witkoff, were abject failures. And this is a really important point, is that when Trump appoints people, they have a high likelihood of having absolutely zero experience relative to what is required. And for example, we'll talk about Steve and Jared on the Steve and Jared show. So these guys, the president sends them to Iran to try and negotiate some sort of peace or something, end of the war, ceasefire. And the part of the basis for the talks was the Iranian nuclear program. And I don't think anybody really wants those guys to have a nukes. The question is, as how do we stop it and what do we do? So Trump, in his genius-like delusional world that only he lives in, sends Witkoff and Kushner to Turkey or Pakistan, wherever it was. And they're come down to negotiating the length of time that Iran will commit to not enriching uranium for a nuke. And Tehran had actually made a very, very good offer. The problem was Witkoff and Kushner were too stupid to understand it because they didn't do any research or legwork. They knew, next to zip about, nuclear terminology, much less nuclear operations. All they knew was no bomb. And lo and behold, because they didn't understand the nature of they didn't understand the subject of the matter being negotiated, nuclear stuff, that Iran had made a good deal, and they didn't know enough to accept it. They were too stupid and ignorant to accept it. And I'm going to submit something to you for your consideration. I think that stupidity and incompetence and all that is just a trademark of this administration because Trump cared not one whit about doing a good job or hiring qualified people. And he just doesn't work like that. He only wants people that will tell him how great he is, and yeah, it would be really nice to live in that sort of world if you weren't suffering from delusions in the highest office in the United States. So, and all the Jesus-like or Jesus suggesting posts lately, um, I it's at a certain point, even the insane do something so insane that you can't deny it anymore. And conflating yourself with the spiritual leader of Christianity, which is probably, I don't know, billion and a half people around the world. And then, you just to allow to even talk about himself in the same breath or picture as those Instagram posts depicting Trump as like Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior to billions of Christians. Yeah, it's just insanity. At some point, though, you can't say that's just Trump being Trump or that's okay. This is just wrong to pick a fight with any spiritual leader, much less the Pope. And the reason for that is that when America was founded, and I keep pounding this home and I urge people to remember, the states were found, actually the colonies were established for religious freedom. The Protestants weren't really highly having a good time in England. So when the Pilgrims set out and actually landed on Plymouth Rock, it was just to be able to practice the religion of your choice. And America used to be like that. I mean, everybody could go to the church, the mosque, the Gurdwara, the temple. I don't care, whatever it is. But now there's the divisions that Trump stoked are such that everybody's fair game, even the Pope. At least that's the Trump administration's theory. But they proceed to argue with the Pope on matters of theology. Now, again, I'm hardly a genius in this deal, but I think that the Christian clergy, or I'm sorry, the Catholic clergy, and maybe the Presbyterian clergy are, highly educated and highly respected people who know their subject matter. And to insert yourself into savior-like imagery is beyond the pale. And if that's not a delusion of grandeur, please God strike me down now. I have no other word as to what it can be other than a delusion of grandeur. So let's kind of move on from that. I've got kind of a lot to share with you today. We expect to have some city council candidates on Democracy Radio Network next week, and I will keep you informed. But do stop by, call us 949-629-3820, and share your thoughts. And if you believe in what we're doing, helping Democrats get elected by exposing exposing them to the general public in our live stream in yet another way. And I'm going to give you some sort of an implicit guarantee. I will only host guests that are that have a positive vision. I don't. If somebody is scaring us, there may or may not be a basis. But when people try to scare you, you don't never know if it's trying to get you to do something or to scare you away from doing it. But that's just an invasion of privacy. You just, but let's say back to the Pope. And, when whoever it is drags the cross down the Via de la Rosa and all that, you know, Jews debate. Actually, Orthodox Judaism affirms that there's the whole Immaculate Conception thing was pretty much made up. But regardless, it's just bad to pick on religious leaders. And what Trump doesn't get is that it makes him look so small and petty, and apparently he thrives on this, which is the exact opposite of what a president should be. Right? Okay. So anyway, let's check in the old Financial Times this morning and see what they had to say. Of course, their first headline was Tehran deploys Chinese satellite to target U.S. bases in the Middle East, which is where I gave the byline earlier. Doesn't that kind of say it all? Are we at war with China? Was Trump's tough stance on Xi and China, and nobody's tougher on China than me. And well, I would I would take issue with that. They're fighting. They're on Iran's side, and while we always kind of knew that, for Iran to blatantly use, I would say $34 million satellite to target our guys, our men and women, I think that's an unfair situation. So I have no, and of course the president's headed there to China, next week? And again, you'd have to bet that he is incapable of doing anything other than grabbing a headline or lying, and one probably feeds into the other. And another thing, wasn't Jane? Let's assume Trump was a choir boy, pure as Jon Snow choir boy, and then comes January 6th. And the Capitol is attacked and invaded on his orders. Okay. You can't paint that any other way but a violent insurrection. So my point is that isn't that one act enough to disqualify him as president? To a boatload of people, the answer is clearly yes. But you have yes men in the Republican Party who want to keep the Trump train rolling. And why? Because it's a Trump gravy train, and these guys are, they'll sell out for money they keep doing it. And, in case you ever doubted, these Medicaid cuts to rural communities are just, heart-wrenching. Most of us are fairly lucky to live within, a short distance of medical care. Hopefully a good hospital, but, you usually have something. But way back in these little towns, they have nothing. And I was in a place called Walsenburg, Colorado, because it's where I make a left turn to drive across the state. And even tiny little Walsenburg had a makeshift 2-bed converted garage, converted garage like space. So, we just have to hang on through all this. And what do we do to China in this case? What can we do? Can we blow the satellite out of the sky? Well, we could, but a few people are going to be a little disturbed by that, so it may not happen as we would expect. But let's talk about some of the effects, the spillover effects of Trump's war in Iran. And like I said, nobody wants to see Iran have nukes. But there are respectable ways to go about it. And these guys are so intent on having their way, they just don't care about the rules. And, it's really easy to win when you cheat and don't care about the rules. I think that's a lesson every kid learns growing up. So anyway, let's just hope that we can get Democrats elected, and let's work really hard to rectify what has been done, realizing that it may take decades. In a little over a year, Trump has really neutered the federal government in a pretty effective way. I mean, he's got majorities in the House and the Senate, and he's the president. So that's a dynamic that is just lethal to opponents in the Trump era. Again, it didn't used to be this way, but like I said, the truth of the matter is, Trump's just a lying, grifting, piece of well, you know where I'm going with this. So let's for God's sake, let's keep all this in mind and turn out and if you get a chance, or if you can do it, a small contribution to your local candidate would greatly help, because it's not just you giving $5 or $10. Hopefully, it's several people, or maybe even several hundred or thousand donating $5 or $10. And from small things, great things come. And that's a kind of a theme that I see with Democratic candidates these days. They are better in every way. I mean, as far as preparation, knowledge of the issues and their particular stances, usually pretty spot on. Let's hit the old coffee mug to keep the old energy level going. Thank you. Who was it? As a barista, I go to the Starbucks at Fashion Island after I work out in the morning, which usually consists of sitting in a sauna for 20 minutes or more. But so after the gym, I go have a coffee or two at Starbucks, and there's a barista there named Kennedy. And when she introduced herself as Kennedy, I'm like, I'm going to call you Prez. So Prez made me some really good coffee this morning, and I am leaning on it through the show because I might have been a little low energy yesterday, and that's never a good look for a radio host. I mean, I can see why those guys get all cranked up on the goofballs or hopped up on the goofballs or whatever people do with goofballs these days. And it's funny. I could transition into a goofball person or a goofball act, but all in due time. I don't want to give everything away at the beginning unless you have something to say, and we'd love to hear it. Give us a call at 949-629-3820 and let us know your thoughts. Is gasoline still affordable? Is it difficult to afford to fill your tank? What about food? And, I tell people, but for this food, clothing, shelter addiction, I'd be really lazy, but people get addicted to food, clothing, and shelter. I mean, people may not need much to live, but they need that. And I think Democrats are more likely to see that happen, to make that happen than anybody else. And of course, everybody's, free to disagree, but this is the DemocracyRadioNetwork.com, and we are aggressively pro-Democrat. So, oh, bless me. Oh, so please feel free to give us a call, 949-629-3820. Share your thoughts. And if you're so inclined, if you can hit the donate button, Abby's lunches don't grow on trees. So if you could give us a little help, we'd appreciate it. And I said the truth of the matter is that I want Democrats elected. I want Democrats to control every lever of power. because I know you know why? Because I can trust them, as opposed to the president and how anybody believes a word he says. I mean, the guy lies about the time of day. And you've heard the story about it. He kicked so many balls on the golf course they call him Pele. Well, that's it's really bad when the stupidest, as Mo Kelly would say, mother father on earth. I said the stupidest mother father on earth is also the president of the United States. How devastating is that? And we're learning it now. I mean, Trump is absolutely convinced he's doing great things by, you know, not trimming, but slashing the budget, just firing people wholesale. And of course, he's too stupid to realize the institutional knowledge and institutional value of those civil servants. Not deep state, they are civil servants. They work, they get paid, they go home. They're, apolitical at work, and they might not be super political out. But as they may, it's just a sad state of affairs. So, and let's see what kind of headlines we saw. European public debt. Now, what is the big deal with this? And it primarily concerns Britain, Italy, and France. And I think what the IMF is saying, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, and I think what those guys are saying is that we understand prices are high. And, let's use gasoline. Prices are high for gasoline. And you states, you want to help your constituents, so we can understand where you would contemplate cutting taxes to put more money in people's pockets to weather these times. Okay, that's and while that sounds nice on paper, you've got to realize what happens is usually these countries take on more debt, which and that's clearly a huge problem. I mean, I used to think that the new monetary policy says there's no such thing as a depression because we'll just keep printing money. But that's inflationary too, and I don't. I used to think that's right, but I think that now that Trump added 2.4 trillion to the deficit while giving money away to his buddies, is unfair and un-American. I talked yesterday about how the average soybean farmer got $50,000 or something. But the truth of the matter is the big agricultural people got $50,000 while the individual farmers got $500 or $800. So, and this is after Trump took away their soybean markets in China and they started buying from Argentina. The guy's just an idiot. He was, you have to appreciate the nature of risk in any given endeavor. And apparently, Trump could care less about the risk. And the reason is he's so into himself, if it doesn't affect him, he just doesn't care. And he's 79 years old, and I think there's a thing called cerebral arteriosclerosis. And I think that's the hardening of arteries in the brain. And I think it's pretty hard to argue that Trump doesn't have any of this. He's okay. Anyway, I keep coming back to him because he is, as he's getting ready to fly out to Arizona, Nevada to speak tonight. You just wonder about the guy. And even though my mind's fairly convinced that he's insane, you still, it always hurts to think that, your president is a lunatic. But guess what? Our president is a lunatic. And yeah, lunatics need to be taken care of in a special environment, like a sanitarium, like where they send insane people. Uh, and oh, by the way, I want to mention this just so everybody will keep this in mind. But the homeless crisis, the root cause of the homeless crisis in California and every place else is the conservative hero, Ronald Reagan. Now, keep in mind, he's, you know, not exactly a hero to anybody other than a certain small group of Republicans. But so anyway, let's talk about the governor's race and Eric Swalwell for a minute. I had I had originally been on Swalwell's side only because he got the Adam Schiff endorsement, and I respect Adam Schiff. He's went to Stanford, worked. He's a bright guy, and my thought was, if Adam Schiff endorses him, then so will I. And I, was kind of happy with Swalwell but now that he's taken himself out of the picture, while the Democrats have, I think, 5 people running, the two highest polling candidates are Tom Steyer and Katie Porter. And I don't, I know the generalities of Tom Steyer. I'm a little bit more familiar with Katie Porter. And I'm going to be the first one to tell you, Katie Porter is not a perfect candidate, but I don't think there's any doubt that she'll fight like what for anybody. I said she's a little abrupt, and the staff has some concerns, but I think she's the best pick for the state of California. Just thought I'd share that, but that's just one of those things that I couldn't keep quiet with. So let's seriously consider getting behind Katie Porter. She's one of our own, and I think her at some level, a certain amount of money either makes you real, paternal, where you don't mind looking out for people and helping this out, or it just makes you a complete jerk. So while it's nice, I'm a little reluctant to say much about Tom Sawyer without having chatted with him. As a general proposition, I say people, it's nice to have people that care in office, and I would submit that that's probably somewhere in Jesus's teachings as being kind to others. And isn't that the only rule we really need, ladies and gentlemen? Let's get rid of every rule except do unto others. Not do unto others before they do unto you. Let's just do unto others or treat others as we would like to be treated. And I do this in a strange way. I tell people I tell baristas, take all the time in the world you need. I don't like to be rushed. So guess what? I don't rush others. And that's clearly some, Eastern mystic, Buddhist, whatever it is. So I would urge you to think about that, and just spend a little time and get back to us. Give us a call. Let us know what's on your mind. 949-629-3820. This is your somewhat politically savvy host, Abby Kaufman, coming to you live and in color from our undisclosed secret location in Newport Beach. Not a bad place to to broadcast from at all. And as a matter of fact, we may even try to take this on the road and broadcast live, maybe from like Starbucks on the patio at Fashion Island. 70. I could see myself sitting outside in shorts talking to you guys on the old boom mic and everything else set up just on the patio. So we'll see if we can make that happen as soon as the weather turns warm enough. Out here in coastal California, it's cool year round, and when it gets warm enough for shorts, it's really when it gets legitimately warm enough for shorts. And we all know people that wear shorts in like 32-degree weather, but I think that's lacking a little forethought. Okay, so the European public debt thing and borrowing costs driven up by the increased oil costs and what have you. And there were two inserts in the front page of the Financial Times today. And you got to love the first one. The first one is the fearless Pope taking on Trump. Okay. The fearless Pope. And, I'm hardly a religious person, but what's that thing about deliver us from evil and all that stuff. And let's see, the Pope has the teaching of Jesus as his weapons. He tries to overcome hostility with love and affection and empathy and a basic sense of morality. And, I wouldn't be surprised if I would be surprised if Trump was this sophisticated. But, to appreciate things on that level is something that the present administration just cannot do. And, there's an old saying in the South, you can't fix stupid. So we can't fix these guys. And, how about guys like Tommy Tuberville from Alabama? I'm in the South, and I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, so I can say this. The South to this day still elects racists. And, when you grow up in a small town like Charleston, the, good side of the street, the bad side of the street, there's only like a block difference between, affluent and poverty. And, that's just kind of how it was. So we need to, but let's hit another topic from today's Financial Times because I do like that paper. Oh, here's a great one. Why does the European Union endorses an image of jingoism? Now, how about that, jingoism? And I had to look that up myself. And jingoism is extremely aggressive form of nationalism and patriotism. So it don't sound too cool to me. So let's, endurance and jingoism. That's for a Sunday morning major newspaper read. And let's see. As our next topic of conversation, this is great. The IMF, International Monetary Fund, warns Brussels. You talk about a not particularly aggressive country. You talk about the Belgians. So anyway, so they make that same plea to states and countries. We've got to we've got to have enough to deal with for ourselves. We can't. And when the fiscal rules are talking about relaxing on the same deals, no matter who and no matter what level, everybody wants you to think that your refund will be bigger or your liability won't be as much. And we had rules to figure that kind of stuff out. We have accounting rules, we have tax rules. But then you have people in office who don't follow the rules, in which case, it becomes the huge stinking pile of corruption that everyone smells. And make no mistake about it, he ain't going away. It's up to us to make him go away. And how about the U.S. and Russia say they're working with the new Hungarian president? Now, I think his name was Peter Magyar, and clearly anybody that beats Orban out of office, Viktor Orban, the Hungarian president, is pretty good. Sometimes it's easy to see who has the good position, the bad position, the moral certainty, and the immoral uncertainty. So when we talk about religious figures, I think they're allowed to say almost anything they want under the guise of religious freedom. They're ordained ministers, such as whatever it might be. And I would tell you, it's been my opinion that there were more, kind of bum guitar players in the South than any place else, but there just might be a reason for that. I don't know. I'll speculate on it a little later. But we are broadcasting at Democracy Radio Network now. I'm your host, Abby Kaufman, and I would like to ask you to give us a call, 949-629-3820, and we'll see let us know what's on your mind. So, and as far as what's on my mind, while we've covered a good bit, let's in 15 days, something a new check-in system in the European airlines, and I think in like 15 countries, the wait went like from more or less 0 to like 2 or 3 hours. And, short of the most stoned out guy in the world, everybody else is a little anxious to move on and get things done. So let's keep those planes flying and keep everybody happy while they're there. So let's see, how about this art's really bad too. This is the Financial Times runs different series of articles, and this one is about China and the China Shock 2.0. And what's going on is the EU, European Union, is they have to deal with Beijing's investment dilemmas. Does Beijing, does Trump let them? Just let them. And the whole problem with this is that they have a trade surplus, which you got to think back to Trump and tariffs and all that. And we do. That's always been illegal for a president to raise tariffs on his own. But for the Republicans coalescing behind Trump, it wouldn't have gone on as long as it did. It wouldn't have happened. But you've got to remember that lying, cheating, and stealing are like air and for Trump eating at McDonald's. And by the way, would anybody please tell me how that happens? Shouldn't he be like dead or something? Just from eating unhealthy and not exercising and all that. But I say anything as long as we get him O-U-T out. And it's funny, I spell that out every now and then because I've raised 3 golden retrievers cradle to grave, and you would have to spell certain words so they wouldn't get too excited, like or call, the drill. But I had named, they were all golden retrievers, and I had named them all Augie, A-U-G-I-E. Then the second one was A-U-G-G-I-E. The third one was A-U-G-G-G-I-E. And it took a little while to move on from that dog, but we're looking at another one in the near future. So any help you can give us would be really nice. and I promise to work on my ums, but I'm a new self-taught radio host. So if you just kind of concentrate on the substance of what we're saying, not necessarily the shadow of what we're saying. Yeah, there's always the shadow and the substance in there. Another one of those classic British things. Oh, and how about this? The world. Did I say the world? The world as counting the cost of the damage uh, to Middle East infrastructures that we have committed, and I mean, you just can't go into another country because you're stronger and break it apart and then walk away and like, oops, I didn't know it would be this hard. Again, truth is, I guarantee you that Trump was briefed on everything. And I will also guarantee that Trump retained exactly nothing from those briefings. And there's a reason. Just because the words go to your ear, that doesn't necessarily mean they like went inside. And uh, at this point, everybody knows. And I'd like to think a reckoning is coming. But folks, the truth of it is, we would like to help cause the happening and be there to elect Democrats. And this is largely a personal thing. One of my friend's uncles, a man named Gedney Howe from Gedney's from Charleston, and this is Jimmy Howe's Uncle Gedney and Bobby and Little Gedney's dad, Dingle's dad. But anyway, Big Gedney, after he came home from World War II, he started making the Democratic Party into a real functioning powerhouse. And Southerners have been Democrats for ages. It wasn't until like Nixon and Reagan that they actually considered the alternatives. And of course, it's a false choice, but what are you gonna do? Yeah, you can't. I tell you, I went to school in Mississippi for a while, and the most profound lesson I learned was called the singing pig theory. And I have to thank my friend Louis Bain for this. Louis is a really fine insurance defense attorney in Jackson, Mississippi. And, I would like to think that he has seen the light. So, anyway, maybe we'll write a song about Trump seeing the light. But, you can only, in addition to just being stupid and unwilling or unable to read, can you imagine that? Any president before him contemplating any sort of military action that did not know the subject matter backwards and forwards? Okay, so you got a person that knows the subject matter backwards and forwards, and then you got this clown coming up who just makes stuff up. And, he reminds you of like a frat boy trying to get by without doing the homework, just trying to, get by on personality. And, it's not healthy. We need to, kind of throttle back a little bit and help the Democrats get things back on track. They're clearly off track now. And if they're not completely off track, at least 3 of the 4 wheels are off track. So let's get those cards and letters and contributions going to your favorite candidate. I can't implore you enough to help Democrats get elected in this really critical time in our history. I was pretty lucky to be able to put the station together, and now it's time to build it out. And now we want you to call in 949-629-3820, and we want to hear from you. What I have to say, what I pontificate about is it may appeal to some people, it may not. But we want to hear from you. We want to hear your voice. What's going on locally? How are your parks? Are there enough of them? Are they clean? Just and the biggest question of all is, are they safe? And those are all relative terms, but they're also terms that Democrats likely embrace. And it's just it's so funny. Republicans just seem to want to dominate anything and everything, and we Democrats prefer cooperation until we're just backed against the wall. And Trump's negotiating style is, guess what? To back people up against the wall. It makes no sense. He's just a lunatic, and heaven help us. Let's hit the old coffee mug again. So last, let's do a few more news stories, and then we'll kind of shift gears a little bit. And the next thing I want to kind of briefly mention is that Tehran faces the longest stoppage of internet access in known, and so far, and I say this so far. Actually, I could pull my chair up and say so far. God, this is horrible. Oh, sorry about that. That so far, they've been without the internet for 45 days. And, you can imagine what would happen if you didn't have access to the net for 45 days, how productive you would be, how in touch you would be. And the answer is not a lot. I've honestly given thought to Starlink, and have only not done it because I just refuse to make Elon Musk any money at all. I know my $35 a month or whatever it is not a big deal to him. But ladies and gentlemen, this is, in these times, you have to take a stand. And we would ask you to stand for Democrats' democracy. We would ask you to vote early, and only vote once. That vote early and vote often thing only works in Chicago, or worked in Chicago. But there were funny stories. My granddad I was up from Charleston, and there was a town maybe 7 miles away called Georgetown. And it was funny during elections, particularly during the close ones. Georgetown would always come in last, and somehow they would always manage to shift the vote in their favor. So there was a reason that Georgetown always was counted last. You never know how many votes you would need, and this was the good old boy South. But anyway, so Big Andy comes back from the war and literally just builds the Democratic Party. And the House, he introduced Bobby Kennedy when he came to Charleston on his presidential run, and a highly influential family. And Big Andy had taught me something. I didn't go to many churches and all that. But the house belonged to First Scott Second Presbyterian Church on Meeting Street in Charleston, and they're an older church going back to the early 1700s. And but different clergies have different requirements or expectations of their religious leaders. Some of them just don't expect much, and some expect the moon. So let's just keep in mind what happens with this. Let's see here, as long as internet. How about this? Janet Yellen, former Treasury Secretary, former board, Fed chairwoman, whatever, is saying that the Trump rush to cut rates is something like being in a banana republic, because this isn't the time to cut rates exactly, right? we've got 3.3% inflation, and and please remember this, every economist in the world, every reputable economist in the world said that Trump's policies were, in no uncertain terms, were going to produce a range-bound stock market, and which is called stagflation, and it's going to cause high unemployment. And clearly we're seeing major corporations laying off people by the thousand. And but for unions, the ownership has the ability to crush labor financially. And when we're talking about money and politics and all that, it's just really pathetic when the degree of, or the likelihood of success is determined by how much money people have donated to you. And it's not always a fair fight, and it's important to know that in politics that it's rarely a really fair fight. So, and especially these days, Trump just seems to know nothing but a hammer. And if your only tool is a hammer, you apply it every time thinking that everything is a nail, which means there's no discretion, no abilities to discern any interest between two competing propositions. I mean, and I know people that voted for Trump, even though I've mostly disassociated myself, I think everybody's kind of regretting seeing this. And when I say you can't call it unexpected, it's exactly what he promised. And if it was exactly what he promised, then, then I think we have enough intent to establish the crime. But I digress. Let's see let's check the federal and statewide Democratic voter guide. And of course, as you're asked to vote before June 2nd. And we have Dave Min, who's endorsed, and Robert Garcia for Congress. These are Dave Min is here in Newport, Orange County, and Robert Garcia comes from the 42nd Congressional District. Moving right along, you had Eric Swalwell, Katie Porter, Fiona Ma, Elena Kornelakis, and I think a fellow named something Thurman, Tony Thurman maybe, as candidates, excuse me, for California governor. And of course we can X Swalwell out. And, Katie Porter looks like she's got some real, it looks like Katie's got a real opportunity here. And we would like to help her in any way we can. And we'll clearly ask her about coming on. For Secretary of State, the Democrats are endorsing on the Newport Beach Women's Democratic Club. The Secretary of State candidate is Dr. Shirley Weber. The state controller is Malia Cohen, and I'm just giving the Democratic endorsed candidates. Rob Bonta as Attorney General. And I've never met Bonta, but I understand he is really bright. So if he is, let's elect him and let's give him a bonus so he doesn't go anywhere. And then we have Jane Kim for Insurance Commissioner running against Ben Allen. I don't think that either one is officially endorsed. So go to their websites or find out a little more about their platforms before you vote. And then for the Superintendent of Public Instruction, and I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the absolute most critical positions in government. It's clearly low profile. you know. Um, but these guys are it just counts. So anyway, Al Muratsachi is one candidate for the superintendent of public education, running against Josh Newman. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Newman does something, or had he was either on city council Newport Beach or something. But I'm going to tell you, as a general proposition, when I have a vote in front of me and I have two candidates, I will always do my best to make a as clean appearance as possible. So, for whatever reason, I decided to share that with you guys, and we are just about ready to wrap up hour number one of the Abby Kaufman Show here on the Democracy Radio Network. And we would like to have you call in 949 629 3820. We are here at the Democracy Radio Network. You talk, we listen, and we couldn't be happy to do that. So let us know what you like, what you don't like. And we promise to have more of what you like and less of what you don't like. So and I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's, let's play through a little, a little break just to see what happens. Uh, um, oh, you know what? We could just, let me just play them all and we'll take a little outro for a second. Well, like those fall. Well, And guys, we are back from our very brief break. We had to run down to the car for a second and grab some medicine I had left in the car. It's a little cool here today. I'm freezing inside the air conditioning. But let's get a few decongestants, see if that can dry things out a little bit. And then we'll see about a little something for the old backache. We ain't getting any younger here, folks. But we still want you to give us a call, 949-6938-20, and tell us what's on your mind. And the reason we want to know what's on your mind is because that kind of determines the future of this country. Do you feel good enough to keep things the way they are? Or do you feel the need for change? If I was a betting person, I think I would bet that we need a change and that you, fellow Democrats, are willing to work hard and let's get those Dems elected. And this, we may not have another opportunity. If Trump rigs things and all that, he ain't going anywhere. It's hard to believe that with that $300 or $400 million ballroom that he's leaving, it's a hell of a remodel on the house you're planning to sell. So I don't think Trump is planning to sell. I think he's planning to keep by hook or by crook. And that's what you need to know. When I can't emphasize enough how important it is to always play by the rules. And it just assumes that rules don't apply because they haven't in the past. Well, tomorrow's a different day, and as a Project 2026 for Democrats, I think it ought to be a 3-part thing of impeach, convict, and incarcerate. And I think that kind of covers the waterfront. Hang on, let's follow this. Well, that'd be kind of a double whammy. We're keeping the old caffeine going to make sure we have an upbeat program. Which I was a little draggy yesterday, and that kind of thing happens in the world of sports. But we try to keep those things down to a minimum. So let's look at some Democratic and countywide voter guides. There's Chris Duncan, District 36 for Senator. Chris Kluwe from Huntington Beach State Assembly. And I think he was a former NFL place kicker, something like that. Connie Petrinaris, she really does yeoman's work for Costa Mesa. She's in the 73rd District. Tom Umberg, Board of Equalization. I think he's been around a while, and I think he's a good person to support. We also have the former Mayor Katrina Foley running for the Board of Supervisors, and the Honorable Judge Amy Segal for Superior Court Judge number 41, and Robert Mesterman, Mestman, for Superior Court in District 13. So, we really need to keep the pressure on. These guys are, they just cheat. It's not, and how do you stop a cheater? You shine the light on. You put the light on just, and I don't mean a light. I mean like a spotlight. I mean like a Fresnel kind of spotlight. If everybody knows what or knows what a Fresnel is, it's some kind of a lens that goes on lighthouses. But after that, I'm not much help to you. So let's keep on with our political topics of the day. Seeing as how this is the Democracy Radio Network, and let's see, how about this? Uh, China. China told Maersk and Mediterranean Shipping to get out of get out of Panama. So I'll have to double check that. But and how about this? The Saudis have had more money than God for ages. So what did they do? Well, they spent a lot and tried to improve the economy, try to move away from oil. Um, but guess what happens when you do that? After a while, let's say your $1 trillion sovereign fund runs into a little trouble. And what if the Saudis don't feel like making up the shortfall anymore? And therefore they take their money and run while things collapse. And we can't let up, guys. We've come too far and we're too close. And be honest with you, we have been screwed too often to somehow let Trump maintain his presidency and the right to run after January 6th, particularly after the hearings established proof beyond a reasonable doubt. We just know what kind of guy he is. So I won't. I'll try not to keep dwelling on this, but there's so much news to get to in the meantime. Let's see. How about and let's see. There's a German arms manufacturer, Rheinmetall. I don't know what that Rheinmetall means. But anyway, Rheinmetall, and they just got how big was it? A $300 million drone order. And that, we kind of need that stuff to make us good, but we don't need somebody else having $300 million worth of drones. We need us in possession. And again, the basic starting point with democracies is the vote. Did you get more votes than the other guy? Did the other guy cheat? Is one side, excuse me, more well liked than the others? And the answer is no. So let's do what we can and keep up the Democrat intensity. We've got a couple more months, and last night the Democratic meeting they were giving out Foley yard signs, and I'm gonna tell you, I remember when she was mayor, and I thought she did a good job then. I thought that Dave Menn was gave her a really good run, but time moves on. We've got to suck up our differences and unite as Democrats are, unite against the Republicans, and which is why our primary email contact address at democracyradionetwork.com is united at democracyradionetwork.com. And that should tell you just about everything you need to know about us. Oh, let's see. That was a little awkward. Oh, but how about this? Investors shun U.S. life insurers over rising concerns on private debt, private credit, whatever you call it. And this is a relatively new phenomenon. This is what happens when guys like PayPal offer you a card and a line of credit. It doesn't go through a bank or some secure institution like that. It just kind of goes out at what it is. Uh, so it's you know these companies, these private debt companies, they Ford Motor Company, they finance cars. God knows what all they finance. The distinction is they're not a traditional bank. And what happens, I know you, I'm sure you believe this, is that what happens is that uh, people, banks, and hedge funds are now have the opportunity to invest in private credit companies. And, you know, what happens is a lot of times they'll get overloaded with debt. I think there's a car parts manufacturer in Detroit recently that did this, that had huge debt, declared bankruptcy, and walked away with $1 billion. Well, I mean, that's a pretty healthy payday. And, you might get me to do it on the right day, the right time, in the right place. So let's keep brushing these headlines aside. I feel like Johnny Carson with his lesser known facts. But yeah, I mean, this private credit deal is going to blow up at some point. We really don't know how bad. And as we're kind of getting to the end of Financial Times stuff, you got to love this line, byline, whatever it is. Global demand puts U.S. at risk of oil shock. Now, I don't know about you, but I guess maybe I'm not suffering from oil shock because I had some idea, and I live in California, and it's just always expensive out here. But again, this is just another repercussion from a poorly made decision from a guy whose most important decision ought to be what he wants on his McDonald's cheeseburger. I'm convinced that Donald Trump can handle that. We'll see if he lets me down. But Trump's got to go. Oh, and if I'm not mistaken, didn't Trump think that the cross that Jesus was carrying was his last, the initial of his last name? The guy wasn't dragging a replica of the cross. He was dragging Trump and his name through the streets of Jerusalem. Again, it's just too delusional to put up with. And notice that old Mississippi Fred McDowell song, you gotta move. You got to move. You've got to move. You've got to move, child. You got to move. But when the Lord get ready, you got to move. So let's help Trump move out of the White House. I mean, you have to wonder what resources the U.S. Marshal or whoever has to evict. Now, I'm going to tell you, I would pay money to watch that on TV. I would pay money to watch Trump be evicted from the White House. And we just got a little hello from an old friend in Providence, Rhode Island, Billy Dimitri. And Bill comes from a very political savvy family. I think his dad was like governor of Rhode Island at some point. Big time criminal lawyers up there. But the best. Dimitri was great from Providence. I met another guy, Scott Partington, which was really funny because Scott Partington's dad, John, started the witness protection program on to put people away, and then you got Dimitri's trying to get them off. So, and but in a small place like Providence, you know, I think people tend to try to get along. Now, I don't think you see the polarization there you would see elsewhere, but of course, like everything else, Normie could be way wrong. So, yeah, I don't want to draw on the fact that I could be super wrong because it'll, when it happens, you'll see it. Uh, Now, they closed on the editorial page with a big article, with two big articles. The first one was the Pope versus the President. And theologians are rarely men of war and men of violence. Theologians have concerned themselves with timeless ethics and morality that come from that some religions seem to have. So, and the truth of the matter is, you cannot reign supreme in all areas. As the President of the United States, you have absolutely no reign over religious matters. It's not zip zero, the whole deal. But the exception to that is when people sneak it in. And God knows those guys do that. And listen, the Pope, how much more of a decent, educated person is there? Now, I have had issues with the Catholic Church before. I don't, I think they were a little too friendly to the Germans in World War II and after. And, it's what it's time for, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for a unified democratic government. It's time for Democrats to hold the White House, have a sound majority on the Supreme Court for the judiciary, and in the legislative branch, we just need 218. I do think this redistricting stuff is not going to go well because people are starting to see Trump for what he is, a lying, grifter, so on and so forth. I almost hate to spend time and energy calling him those things, but I'm really tired of seeing news lines like Trump says, Trump claims, or even Trump claims without evidence. How about just the nice, simple Trump lied? I mean, doesn't it sound so much more simple? Trump lied. Again, I can't imagine that being too much to ask, but these days and times, who knows? And I tell you what, why don't we get a little political music here as a little interlude, and I guess how about, since we are in Orange County, California, and that's relatively close to 60 miles from Los Angeles, 60 miles south, and have a little Randy Newman and a little political science, and ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to have the one, the only Randy Newman do political science on Democracy Radio Network now. I'm your host, Abby Kaufman. Give us a call at 949-629-3820. And in the meantime, let's catch a little Randy Newman political science. Heaven knows we try. Drop the big one and see what happens. Money, but are they grateful? Was spiteful and they're hateful. Let's drop the big one and pulverize them. Canada's too cold. Because too hot and Canada's too cold. South America stole our name. The big one, there'll be no one left to blame. We'll save Australia. We don't want to hurt no kangaroo. Larry Amusement Park. They got surfing too. Those pounding boom Paris. More room for you and more room for me. Uh, all around will just be another American town. And thank you, Randy Newman. That was excellent. And let's do that like one more time. But let's do it with Randy Newman singing "Rednecks," which is a put down of the southern redneck species, I guess you call it. So let's have. Oh, you would. I swear, things work out so much better when you spell them properly on the net. But here's little Randy Newman doing one of my favorites, and hopefully one of yours. Rednecks. I think this is from the album Good Old Boys. And let's. But he's awful. And that's how I wrote this song. Down here. Too much and laugh too loud. Mountain, when the niggas down. Then imagine that. That's what your sole purpose in life. I believe that. And that's just pathetic. And Randy Newman makes the point so well. And what are we doing? Yeah, you are. Rednecks. We're rednecks. And Randy Newman once again with song Rednecks. And only Randy Newman could poke fun at the rednecks like that. But I don't know if Randy would be would that would get much airplay. Certainly not like he did. And let's see, we're gonna be kind of partial to Randy Newman living in Southern California. And let's tell you what, I almost feel like doing that one. Ooh, how about if we do like a little uh let's see, how about if we try a little Birmingham? No place like Birmingham, Alabama? That sucks. You ever get a chance to go to Birmingham, just tell them no thank you. That's all right. Birmingham, Birmingham. And another superior Randy Newman song. And trust me, these two aren't related. But here's an old favorite called Barista Love. And see if you can figure out who sings. With a slice of lime, because you're his baby. You're his girl. Oh, no, I just won't. Barista Love. Sunlight in your hair, 'cause you're my baby. Where your hair's go. Oh, girl, I just want barista love. Oh, girl, I just want barista love. An icy sheet. Look at that. Always makes me weak as yours, baby. You're my love girl. Oh, girl, just want barista love. It's also real. One is acting like a heel 'cause yours, baby. You're my love girl. Oh, girl, I just want barista love. Oh, yeah, barista love. I just want barista love. Huh. Another fine choice. And let's do one more. We don't want that one. Sound familiar? Oh, Elvis Costello song remade. There's a vacancy waiting where he can sell carving S for scandal on the guilty boy's head. Have enough of that, maybe you'll you was bad. Turn up the TV, no one listen. Was suspect even your mother won't respect it, so your father don't know. They say that God knows but and Trump means less than zero. Hey, hey, hey. Well, and again, they got the finest that you have ever seen. Mason, day without his lie, seemed to exile. Let's see, so, guys, you kind of get the impression that on occasion I record a little parody song, and can only hope that uh, people tune in and kind of like it. I think it's kind of good, but what do I know? Uh, how about that? We got from Trusted Account Solutions. I'm calling regarding an important review tied to your account. Please give me a call back. And I think we will report that as spam. And move on. I mean, that's about all we can realistically do. And I hate to do this, guys. We might have to take another uh, break to answer the call of nature fairly soon. But this is your host, Adam Abby Kaufman, with his extremely weak bladder. So we're going to go wash our hands shortly and uh, do those sorts of things that it's you can. I've grown to really appreciate indoor plumbing. So let's see. We're gonna play out. We're gonna start with Jesus is just a local call, and then we'll do Starbucks Got to Pee Blues and Cracker, and we'll be back just as soon as we possibly can. Oh, thanks, guys. Oh, oh, and lied to himself, to himself. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, life must really suck. No. Uh-oh, oh, uh-oh, uh-oh, and no place to lose and nothing to prove. Uh, Guys, sometimes the only thing you can say is, um, so let's get back to the broadcast here. It's a few minutes before 2 o'clock, so we're just shy of 2 hours at the midway point, and we're glad you hung with us. Again, this is your somewhat politically savvy host, Abby Kaufman. Give us a call, 949-629-3820, and let us know what you are thinking these days, because it's about you. It's about you and me, and it's about the individual voters. And it's the individual voters that will determine what happens in 2026 and beyond, assuming we make it that far. It's not beyond the realm of possibility that we would get nuked. So, and I'm not saying we exactly deserve it, but to be put through this bad movie with a washed up or never has been bully, um, who's clearly having cognitive issues. Now, is that not the most inoffensive way you've ever heard say that? He has cognitive issues. Now, I would take that to mean that that's like, to me, that's a little, full blown bat poop crazy. And this is the internet. I could actually have said full blown, full blown batshit crazy. But we try to not be terribly vulgar these days, especially when thinking about how the other night where somebody was having trouble like with their car or something, and I said, "Do you need a hand?" And the woman said, "Yeah," and she was telling me what was wrong with the car and what it would do and wouldn't do. And I said, "That's okay, I get it." So she steps back, and of course I go to the car, and I'm like, "Come on, you worthless piece of shit, you!" And the thing doesn't start. And I was just like, "Oops!" That's like, "Oh, that's my only tool. That's all I have. Sorry." Uh, and while I think that's extraordinarily funny, you would be shocked at how many people don't. And I tell you what, you would really be shocked at is how quickly it takes someone to not like me asking if the fries came all the way from France. You would have thought that was like using the N word or something. I mean, we both know it. I would rarely use, and the N word just, there's never, it's just, it's one of those words that just, doesn't deserve to exist. Yeah. Uh, you know, uh, like I say, being from Charleston, we're a little politically sensitive to, moments in history. And we recognize that, there are thinking people in Charleston and the Low Country, Columbia. I can't, I'm sure South Carolina is solidly red for now. It would, the Lindsey Grahams will be tossed to the side, and and the, you can only hope that somebody is writing the history now, um, because you can't, you know, would you take Trump's version of anything, of any event? Oh, God bless Stormy Daniels. I think about her every time I think about this. On the one hand, she's describing, Trump's penis, his shape, his underwear, and how he is in bed. And on the other hand, you got Trump I never saw before in my life. Yeah, it just, it, what do you say? If it were up to me, I would probably say something like, let's go to the local Democratic Club meeting. And in tonight's case, that would be the Laguna Beach Democratic Club. And I have no idea what we'll do down there, but those guys have been awfully friendly. So shout out to the Laguna Beach Democratic Club. Thanks for having me. I'm a non-resident member, and thank you. So moving right along, why don't we get back into the some of the news stuff? And how about this? I, oh, I forgot the other editorial, didn't I? Iran is America's Suez Crisis, and in the early '60s, Britain, France, and Israel kind of colluded to invade Egypt and take the Suez Canal, and it didn't go well. It's kind of a Bay of Pigs, you know, inspired moment, and so anyway, and I just at this point, what's another article noting how stupid we are, how stupid Trump is. I mean, could you? On one hand, you can never exhaust the topic, and on the other hand, it's you've already exhausted the topic. So we'll try to move forward. Moving to the New York Times, which I've always liked. New York Times, that is a great newspaper. They have credibility. Uh, they are established, reputable news with credibility. Now, I just want to mention that last point because, when you get your news from Fox, you're getting it from a company that kind of admitted they lied on air for money. And I think, what was it, $787 million? I mean, uh, uh, so, the point you got across. Or maybe not, because, a lot of older conservative people I know just don't, it just doesn't, they don't do it. They don't, they, they don't look at a new channel. They might look at a new show or any of this, but they are so used to turning to X, Y, and Z that it would never occur to a Fox watcher to watch an MS Now show. And they see, I always love comparing the two just to see how sometimes it's like, no mention of anything on Fox. It's like headline news every place else. Which causing the question, what Trump really sees and hears. He apparently he tunes in on some level just, to gloat because he's an egomaniac and all that. But so let's have a little more caffeine in the official Democracy Radio Network.com coffee mug. That is so good. Sometimes some of the baristas in Starbucks just hit it. And, this one this morning, so it's, still slightly warm metal container. And it's really good. And I also need to give a shout out not only to the Fashion Island baristas. Thanks, guys. I always look forward to seeing in the morning. Get my coffee and have my bagel. Uh, mm. And this morning we had chatted about the possibility of doing it, of broadcasting live from like the Starbucks patio when it gets to be 70 degrees, and I think I would be all for that. The only thing that would have been better was if the open bar had been like a little more open, but we'll sacrifice for you guys. I will sweat it out at Starbucks, Fashion Island, Newport Beach, California, just to share my views with you. And the real reason we're all here is to elect some Democrats. And after we elect Democrats, we're going to elect more Democrats and then more Democrats. And hopefully that'll be enough to flush the Trump employees out of the system. And I think that's a pretty good idea, flushing the old employees down down the commode. So, so tell me, Costa Mesa, what races are you watching? So you got favorites for city council? I see we chatted with Kara Stewart and Kelly Brown. And you gotta, there's just, they're driven to do something good. And, good people build and bad people, or good people create, bad people destroy. And these two are builders. I think that Costa Mesa will be very well served by having these women represent their districts. I think it's District 3 and 5, maybe, something like that. Anyway, check out their websites. It's Kara4CostaMesa.com and Kelly for Costa Mesa. I think she has the number 4 in there, .com, and Kelly Brown. So give those guys a check out. And, and we're really lucky in California to have those voter guides that, give people an opportunity to say, what they're for or against, and, I guess their platform, their policy proposals. And, in California, voters are start out with a presumption of knowledge that you don't necessarily hold true in different parts of the country. So we're, excuse me, we're really lucky out here to have the information we do and to make voting as easy as it is. And I think that it's kind of incumbent on us to give back. So, anyway, let's keep it on those races. And I would be really curious how the Tom Steyer and what's her name, Katie Porter thing works out. She is, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, she's like a little pit bull or bulldog or something. She's fearless. I think she's fearless, and I think she's tenacious. And truth be told, she may get a little upset when people like can't keep up, or and it's just, I'm sure it's not an inherently spite. She doesn't mean harm. It just comes out wrong, or comes out a little more explosive than you would otherwise like to see. So, and I have no idea who's. It looks like that. What's the Windward Passage just went by. That's a famous old race boat, and it's like 60-something feet long, but kind of old. But I think that's maybe from the 70s. But she still wins races, and that means she's still pretty fast. Anyway, So much for Windward Passage. She said, well, she was under power, so no sales were up. So I don't feel so bad. uh, so let's, you guys keep distracting me from the news. Oh, 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 oh. Okay. Well, the Times. We'll kind of give a quick first one about debt alarms as countries respond to energy crisis. And the same deal. Um, if countries don't have cash to spend, they go into debt. And the countries have less cash to spend, uh, you know, because of the energy problem. The government wants to cut the taxes, but the government needs money elsewhere. So then it makes the debt go up. So it's a really bad cycle. Now, keep in mind, this is, the big, beautiful bill that every sane, thinking, and or independent person, analyzed to be a scam. And I can't imagine, I'm sure AI is torn it apart somewhere. But, the logic was a little flawed, if you can believe that. But this is just, holy mother of God moments. President Xi of China, anger over the blockade. He's and then clouds Trump hope to get anything done in China. So now get this, Xi anger. And I don't know if you've seen this guy on TV. I'm sure you have. And it's rare for diplomats to blow up in public. They all seem to be ours, whether it's Bolton throwing shoes at people at the UN or Trump and Vance yelling at Zelensky and throwing him out of the White House. She's angry. We blockaded the Straits of Hormuz. Things, that makes things a little difficult for China. He's got a billion people or more. God only knows what it is these days. And you can't, when you drive up prices, even the slightest bit, when you spread it across, like a billion people, it has an effect on the markets. And I'm convinced that Trump has that manipulating markets is just another business practice, commonly used, by the way. I said, well, it would be really nice to have a little Irish whiskey in here. I wonder, you can actually do that in your official Silence is Compliance, Shout Loud, Democracy Radio Network. You talk, we listen. And now we wish we had someone to talk to. Give us a call at 949-629 3820 3820. Excuse me, and let us know what's going on in your local district races. Are your libraries clean and safe? How about your parks? Can you walk down outside at night and not worry? Well, we are kind of fortunate to be in Orange County, and let's hope that everybody is as safe as they can possibly be, and so on and so forth. So, but back to President Xi being angry. Now, nobody's harder on China than Trump, he says. That, please God, why don't they just say he lies? Please. I'm not saying I would give my left nut for this, but something's got to be done. Anyway, let's, you know what? I haven't given myself a round of applause in a few minutes. Let's do it again. That help, guys. So we'll kind of retreat to the background as the as the applause fades away, like it always does. Now, do you remember Uh, Graham Parsons. You should, you know, Graham Parsons. While we're let's give him a few minutes. We'll pick that up again in a little bit, but that's Graham Parsons and Emmylou Harris, and of course Graham Parsons discovered Emmylou, and they came to L.A., so on and so forth. But yeah, Graham Parsons never ever gets enough respect. I keep wanting to stay in the room where he died. I go to Jones Tree every now and then. It's a couple hours away, and it's where you go to, excuse me, get a really clear sky to, stargaze and all that stuff. Even though it gets absolutely freezing at night. Um, yeah, it might. I mean, the last time I was there, it was well below freezing when I, you know, woke up maybe 6 o'clock, whatever it was. And man, I was never so grateful for my car to start and my heater to work in my life. God, it was freezing. But the night before was a new moon, which means there's no moon at all in the sky and it's as dark as it'll be. And you know what? I think the peak times are maybe later on this spring or summer. It's either April, August. But it was a weekend that I, could go, and I think Monday was a holiday, so I could drive back and have the traffic be as light as it would be in Southern California on a major freeway on a holiday weekend. But I have this theory about the freeways, and if you like them when you can do 70 and 80, you got to at least put up with them when they're 35 or below. So, just try to relax, enjoy the moment. Let's have no road rage. Doesn't that amaze you? People get violent. And, I mean, I hate being cut off as much as the next guy, probably more. Um, but, ultimately, you don't want to hurt you or anybody else for that matter. So, I mean, it's clearly easier said than done. It's much easier for me to tell you to take a breath and just, let whoever it is, just let him speed away from you. If he wants to get a ticket, then he's more than welcome to. And I think you should kind of help him by getting out of the way and just let him race on. It's interesting last night. David at the Costa Mesa Democratic Club meeting at the library. I think they're on Park Avenue, which is always kind of funny. I don't think I think there's I think there are other Park Avenues that are slightly better known and really deserve the name Park Avenue. But that's just Abby's little interpretation. And, oh my God, we need to. Uh, I don't need to necessarily change a position or anything, but it is much better like this. And you know what? Did we tell you? That's the news. I am here with the news. I'm not here to necessarily be the funniest guy on the face of the earth. And clearly, Xi is not, you know, it's not all peaches and cream for Xi either. Now he's pissed off or angry. You ever seen like? I mean, he's at this point, they know a standard has evolved for appearances on media, and he gets it. Trump still thinks he's got a full head of hair, and nobody realizes he's probably got radiation on his brain. But anyway, let's move along. Market highs show Wall Street bets on peace. Well, Wall Street doesn't always bet right, and it all depends on who's called. What's peace? Is peace nothing for 5 years? Is peace? You know what I mean? How long does it take to establish peace? And this is, I heard this all my life, and it's proven true that there's just no making peace there. That there's a very small amount of real estate, and everybody is or was welcome in the neighborhood until Israel got established in 1948. And the Jews had been there earlier, but this was the official recognition and the correction of a historical wrong, that the Jews never had a country. And after the Germans killed 6 million Jews, goodness, it was social justice. Let's just kind of keep it at that. And so you're automatically, the other side of the story is that it was a correction of historical wrong. Let's say someone says, "Hey, it was a correction on land we had." So it's just a fundamental failure to come to an agreement. I mean, I'd like to think, I'm sure you would too, that people would much rather live in peace. I just don't. Arms makers profit in wartime, and commodities, food, all those guys make money. But it's just we can it's the same deal. Good people create and bad people destroy. And it really is true. It took maybe a second and a half for the bomb to reach any given Iranian bridge. And keep in mind, people drive cars with these things and walk, and then there are people that use these things. And there's a missile that takes, I don't know, could we be generous? I don't think those things fly for like 30 seconds. What do you think? 10 seconds? 15 seconds? Anyway, let's give them 15 to 30 seconds just for the heck of it. And 30 to 60 seconds, you've wiped out a piece of infrastructure that may have taken 5 years to build. And then you're like, oops, and it's not even an oops. I hate to keep coming back to the girls' school, but there's just the pattern that you can't let it go anymore. So give us a call at 949-629-3820 and give us your thoughts. God knows you've heard mine. So let's keep going here. How about what? Oh, when climate denial came to Washington, that is a repudiation of science, years of time and expertise, evidence that's beyond reproach, and they just don't believe it. Surprisingly enough, they believe the earth is round, but that probably doesn't pull at 100% either. Uh, so the question becomes, how can people, believe something that's not true? And all I can say is that it's just a quirk of human nature. Someone will believe, what they want to believe. Regardless, it's kind of like my definition of faith. Faith is that which you believe in, all evidence to the contrary. So, you kind of make it up as you go and hope for the best. And wouldn't it be nice to know? Let's see what's going on. Excuse me, folks. My throat's a little scratchy, and we need a little lubrication here, and we'll see how that goes. But it doesn't look like anything. From the Laguna Beach dams is all clear. At least on Insta. I don't. Excuse me. Okay. Sorry about guys. We had a little distraction. My back kicks in now. And we are live at our undisclosed location in Newport, on Newport Harbor, Newport Beach, California. And that's kind of why there's a boat in the case behind me. In case anyone was kind of curious what that boat was doing there. It's because we're like on the water. And now, let's see, we get. I don't think that necessarily does the same thing. I don't want to hit refresh if there's anything new to chat about. So let's blow through these last few minutes and see if we can make it till 3 o'clock. Because you have to go to Laguna Beach, and there's a Ralph's right there. And I wonder if they have anything to eat. I'm sure they do. Okay, so bet on peace, climate denial. There was a thing about how Iranian misinformation bolted around the world, like in 69 minutes, and was seen millions of times. And this was the post that Iran had posted about shooting down an F-18 fighter and capturing the pilot or something. So yeah, it's and who else does that kind of reporting? I mean, I can't wait to be able to turn it up and come to do this online instead of looking at the paper every morning that I do for my listeners. Gosh, my throat was just really sore. What now? People do this for a living. We'll find out. Let's get some more Graham. Oh God, Graham Parsons really is the best, or was the best, and I think he died at the Joshua Tree Inn. It's on, it's right on the highway there. And the one thing about Joshua Tree is that it's not like in the middle of nowhere unto itself. There's like 29 Palms and Lowtown Joshua Tree itself, and there's all hamlets around there. And Joshua Tree's, as you can imagine, is a pretty big arts place. I don't know if it's that much cheaper than any place else in California. God knows it's like rural enough. Uh, but then, geez, the temperature variation, I can't imagine. I guess it must be maybe like New England, like without snow, because it does get cold. But then again, my teeth start chattering at 60 degrees, so I may not be the best person to judge temperature by. So, and what else we got going on? We checked and did we go over we finished the whole deal yet? Of course not. Climate denial, uranium is, oh. How China's arms transfers to Iran evolved over decades. Uh, and, and that's not surprising, and that's not surprising and highly disturbing at the same time. Just think about that. How China's arms transfers. So it's apparently they've been doing this for a fairly long time, and China's arms transferred to Iran evolved over decades. To me, it makes less and less sense to have hit Iran at right now. I mean, I completely agree. I don't want to ever have nukes. Uh, and I can see where Israel is more than low jumpy. And I just mentioned how Israel was itself born out of the Holocaust. And, when you have Palestinians coming over the border and raping and killing and decapitating and just ugly, violent death for the sake of death, for the sake of inflicting pain, no other reason. So I kind of understand what Israel did after that. That's like, guys, the gloves are off. You will never ever do this again as long as we live. And we are going to make a point, and you will never ever forget it. Now, of course, Israel has every right to do that, and of course, Palestinians will never ever forget it. So, I would hope it's not a cycle continues. Let's work to make sure it doesn't. And if you have any thoughts on the matter, give us a call at 949 629 3820. If you're so inclined, we'd appreciate hitting the donate button. It would be nice. And how much is gas where you guys are? I paid like $6.50 for premium the other day, and that seems like $1.50 more a gallon I was paying last week or a couple weeks ago. And don't think this is going to go away like Scott Bessent says. If you've learned nothing, you have learned that you won't, that it's the old thing a fisherman never says his fish stink. You'll never hear a Trump administration do anything other than gloat about Trump. And of course, that's the requirement for the job. So, and it's funny. You have to, kiss us behind, and everything is great no matter what. Uh, and you still have to look decent, like a TV guy. So I guess that's the only way you can account for Pretty Boy Pistol Pete Cagseth. Right? What a piece of work this guy is. Now you see, he is. Can only imagine as one of those Armageddon apocalypse type guys. And just to make sure I knew what I was talking about, I looked up Armageddon. And apparently, this is like the ultimate final showdown between good and evil, and good and wrong, and like who wins. Uh, the way the story goes, I think the bad guy wins, and we get blown to smithereens. And if you got to do it, do it quickly. Don't let anybody linger. That's a really kind thing to think of today on Thursday, April 16th, 2026. Okay. And this, I'm going to tell you, this is just sad. With lavish promises, Russia recruits university students for drone forces. Now, I'm going to tell you, at this point, I don't have a problem with like you bringing your machine and I bring my machine, and whoever's machine wins whatever the object of the game is. I'd much rather drones kind of fight it out with other drones. Or, I mean, they're clearly asymmetrical warfare. If the one side has drones and the other doesn't, but it's the cat's out of the bag now. What do you do? Stop drone manufacture? Now, I do kind of understand what the government did in restricting modems from China, and I always thought that was like a really bad idea. But considering where our phones and all that come from, it does it really matter? And the truth of the matter is that it matters only if entities like Google or whoever get involved, because they are the biggest guys around. And under the Trump pretty boy Pete Cagseth theory, the stronger guy gets to take what he wants. To say that is despicable and un-American is just, to be nice. And then there's some, the whole, Trump as Jesus Easter thing, just at some point, you owe it to the country to call it like you see it. I mean, that, they treat Trump like George Washington, who who could not tell a lie about chopping the cherry tree down. About Trump, kind of like Honest Abe. Have you ever heard of Honest Don? Yeah, I don't quite remember Honest Don. Do you? If there is an Honest Don, he's been long dead and gone because it sure ain't this one. Okay, and that's funny. Oh, how about this? 14-year-old kid kills 9 in the second school shooting in Turkey in 2 days. And I'd like to think that the point has been made that we can't, we just can't keep doing this. Kids, how do we prevent it? Number one, try to raise a healthy child and explain to them that, guns are tools, and, they're tools of violence. They can be tools to commit offenses, or they can shelter you by providing defense. So the gun, as bad as it is, I think it's a bad idea. Like Kurt Vonnegut said about things to go boom and put holes in people generally not being a good thing. But I appreciate their place in society. So that's so we get a little dry throated here. So excuse me. Uh, so anybody listening from Laguna Beach, give us a call 949-629-3820. We're heading down to, I think it's Clio, where the Ralphs is, and the community church or something, just a block back from Coast Highway. And there's these guys are fairly active. And of course, while they're older, they're clearly, really bright. And excuse me, I've always thanked them for having me. It was really nice last time I was able to bring some ice and some fruit or something. Oh, I know. Yeah, they wanted ice and like lemon and oh, no, oranges and limes, or oranges and lemons to bring back for the the communal water. The 8 million gallon aquarium with the the dispenser thing that you pull or push down on depending on how it is. So yeah, and it could be worse. I try to leave around. Yeah, I always leave a little early, just because, and start heading back. So I'm on Coast Highway at sunset, driving north from Laguna Beach to Newport, and God knows who the worst commutes in the world. So I'm genuinely glad to take that drive. And talking about driving, talking about driving, that is a strange thing. Come on, my I got an error message on the dash about the parking brake could not be applied or something. Forget what the message exactly was, and I ought to, I'll clearly have a check just to make sure. But my car has this electronic brake thing on it where you just kind of like lift up on this little tab and it engages the emergency brake and you just kind of push down and it releases the automatic brake. So I'm, like, what does that mean? And the car, so, if you don't manually put the take the e-brake off, it will release when you put it in drive. So I don't think there's much danger. But of course, as I looked at the matter, they said like low battery or new battery or cables, whatever it was. And I'm like, geez, I look around, like batteries like $300 these days. So, and the factory authorized one is 400. I'd really like to do that. Just I think cars are best with their own equipment. So Ford Motorcraft was like $400. I mean, I was beyond shocked. So but anyway, my point is, and there had been some grunge under there. So I took a wet napkin or two, Kleenex, whatever, and kind of cleaned under there. And I didn't take a little soft toothbrush, which I really should do, and kind of cleaned out the area where the e-brake mashes down because I had wondered for a long time, you know, about the grunge that was down below there and whether that would impede the operation of the e-brake. Uh, so I cleaned it out in some degree, um, and have used it 3 or 4 times since then, and no error message. So regardless of the problem, I still need to figure a way to get access to uh, oh, what was I going to say? Oh, excuse me. Oh, what was I going to say? That's horrible. This is happening a lot lately. Sometimes I wonder if you just gotta kind of take a breath. It's been it's always a long week when I do this, but we'll we'll check in at it's now about 15 minutes or so until the top of the hour. And in the meantime, it's me, your host, Abby Kaufman, your somewhat savvy political host. And give us a call at 949-629-3820 and share your thoughts with us. Like I said, we want to know what's going on and how much are you paying for gas? Uh, Now, I do tell you that I don't, how much you spend on gas and how much it costs is all relative, right? But I do think that it's worth going the extra, whatever for, and getting the top tier gas with the top tier detergents and all that. I mean, keep your if you want to keep your car running, keep those fluids fresh, and just keep it topped up, and you'll be surprised how what kind of service you get out of it. So we'll see if my cleaning that little contact point does it. Yeah, I really shouldn't wait too long to get it tested. And yeah, of course the trunk is slam full. But I'll see about taking care of that. I guess I'll have to drop stuff off in the shelter, but so somebody make out. It just won't be me. Uh, okay, let's go ahead and finish up the news. Oh, well, that was it, wasn't it? Huh. That seems kind of an appropriate place to end that segment with the second school shooting in 2 days in Turkey. I don't know if guns are just like left around. I mean, I don't know. How does a child get a gun? I guess he gets it from an adult somehow. Hopefully, he doesn't get it from another child. Uh, and like I said, the question then becomes, what are you gonna do? What do you do about it? I just I thought taking away the guns would be a good thing, but then only the crooked people have them because they're not gonna turn them in. And at that point, what do you do? Do you just hope that there's some firepower equality or equivalent? It's a bad scene for the home team, ladies and gentlemen. We just have to turn out and get these Democrats elected. Uh, in some ways, clearly our future will be determined by 2026. And I think maybe even less so than 2028. Because if we roll the Republicans in 2026, we will win 2028. And then we can govern. And then we can try to reprove or prove again our worthiness as human beings. The big beautiful bill that takes away hospitals and food, takes away hospitals from the sick and food from the hungry, and then the image. I mean, I I don't know what a professional mental health professional would have to say. I'd be damn curious. I might run it through AI later just to see. But that's just, what do you say about someone that denies food? Listen to this now, food to the hungry, or denies healing to the sick. Uh, Now, if that's who you worship, I said we were established with freedom of religion in mind. But until then, it's it's not true. And I'm personally skeptical of this whole rise and resurrection, all that stuff. But I'm skeptical. Uh, in some ways, in some ways, religion's going to have this like cartoon fairy tale, sorry, uh, way of getting a point across. And you don't and don't forget, it's not like this is like the original version. I can't imagine how many versions we went through, or that Christianity went through. Through like what King James, and like King James, like what would that be? Like the Martin, dreadnought of every generation. So, and so, anybody want to talk? Any guitar players out there? Any guitar players? Acoustic, electric, sort of like classical, Fernando Shore kind of stuff. How about anybody been to the Orange County Guitar Circle? I went there years ago, caught a great concert. Chatted with Ron Fernandez. So it was a real treat. Completely by random. Uh, so yeah, acoustic. I've got to mention Jim at Cottonwood Music Emporium up on Randolph Avenue, and a really nice boutique shop. Jim understands quality. All of his things are nice. Drop by and tell him Ab sent you, and he couldn't be any nicer just off the top of the bat. So do drop by if you need anything. He's the first guy I would check, and just give him a look. I think you'll appreciate him. Gosh, so here we are on Thursday, April 16th in the year 2026. Huh. And like I said, we're doing some, we'd like to have some of these people come on as guests. Dave Min, Robert Garcia. And now Robert Garcia was the mayor of Long Beach, I believe. And Dave Min, Dave is really, really, really bright. He's a decent family guy. He's a really strong candidate, just because of who he is. I think Robert Garcia is he's in candidate for the 42nd congressional district. I think he's a mayor of Long Beach, and he's another guy with a history of accomplishment. So, and of course, we can't go any further without giving a quick shout out to Katie Porter. And Katie, you're as far as qualifications, there's no question you're clearly the better candidate. The only thing Swalwell had going for him, in my opinion, was the Adam Schiff. Can't believe I did that. Was the Adam Schiff endorsement. So, without Adam Schiff, in my book, I could care less. And I'm more than happy to endorse and support Katie Porter for governor. Now, there were some excellent mentions about the about lieutenant governor's race, and the Newport Beach Women's Democratic Club has endorsed Fiona Ma for lieutenant governor, and Eleni Kounalakis. I think she's treasurer now, for treasurer. She might be the lieutenant governor now. Anyway, the California Democrats endorsed Dr. Shirley Weber for Secretary of State, Malia Cohen for State Controller, Rob Bonta for Attorney General. Now, Rob, I understand he's Dave Min's equal as far as being smart and talented and driven, all that. And if he's anywhere near Dave, he's good enough for me. And for the Insurance Commission, I'm the Newport Beach Women's Democratic Club is supporting two candidates, Jane Kim and Ben Allen for insurance commissioner. Uh, I think in my mind, I would give Jane Kim the benefit and vote and give her my support and endorsement. Tune in later for a detailed discussion, but that looks good going in. And now for superintendent of public instruction. What an important job, huh? Uh, these guys determine what our kids learn. So let's pay a little attention to this one. The let's see here. The Newport Beach Women's Democratic Club supports Al Murasachi and Josh Newman as superintendent of public education. If it were up to me, I think I would have to give Al the benefit of the doubt. Uh, just I can't articulate a reason, but I just don't. I just don't think the other guy's right for this. All right, so anyway, let's get the district and countywide Democratic voter guide. And it seems like Chris Duncan in the 36th state district is California Democrat endorsed, as is Chris Kluwe. He's in Huntington Beach, 72nd State Assembly. Connie Petrie Norris, 73rd District. She's been just unbelievably great representative and legislator. She looks out for her constituents, and I can only hope she has a long career, excuse me, ahead in politics. She's really good. Tom Umber for Board of Equalization, District 4. Why not? Now we have Katrina Foley for the Board of Supervisors in District 5. And I remember when she was Mayor for Foley in Costa Mesa. And she's been there, she's been I mean this. She's been for the city of Costa Mesa as long as I can remember. She's a tireless advocate for Costa Mesa. Hang on. Apparently, I was a little late in taking those decongestants because it's like freezing in this room, and I'm starting to get a little congested. So anyway, Foley for supervisor, please. She. The truth is, she just deserves it. If she sucked and didn't deserve it, I'd tell you that too. But I think she's A-okay. And let's finish up with the Superior Court judge races. You have Ami Segal, Sagel, for Superior Court District 41, and Robert Messman for Superior Court District 13. And again, these two spoke at the Newport Beach Women's Democratic Club, and I was there. And, being a judge, I don't know if people really understand what a heavy role this is for someone in any given society. I mean, in his role on the bench, he decides whether people go free or go to jail or lose. Let's rephrase that. Not whether people go to jail, but whether they lose their freedom. And guys, let me tell you, freedom of movement should never, ever be compromised. I mean, I hate to say somebody ties you, ties you to a chair, hand and feet, or ties you, whatever it is, so you can't move. You have absolutely no freedom of movement. And it appears to me that when you have no freedom of movement, that you're in a subservient position. So I think we need to be really careful about all that. But yeah, having your freedom of movement taken away, you no longer have the ability to move your feet. You zip tie somebody's ankles and their wrists, and you know they have lost uh, their ability to move. So let's kind of move on from that topic. How about that? We are in the final hour. It is 3:01 p.m. here in our secret location, the DemocracyRadioNetwork.com. We are broadcasting from our secret location in Newport Beach, California. And gosh, it's been a long day here. So, guys, what are you going to do for the weekend? I will probably do some Instagram posts. If I do 5, I'll be okay for the week. And maybe I can get a little done tomorrow after the. Oh no, I can't. It's showtime tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. So don't forget to tune in at noontime or so, and catch our live stream. Click the live stream link on democracyradionetwork.com, and say give us a shout. Let us know what's going on, what you feel. Be curious to see how much your last fill up was, or how about this? What is the most expensive per gallon price you've seen, not counting? And I tell you what, we'll do this. We'll do this for gas and diesel. That'll make it so much more interesting. Oh, you gotta wonder about these guys that have the big old diesel trucks, and I think like $8 a gallon, and that seems like you're just about at European prices. I mean, I think it's right around $9 a gallon in the UK. $9 a gallon. That would take my 18-gallon tank. What's that? 18 times 8. It's like $144. Almost $150. Wow. Don't have to do that very often before it makes a dent. I promise I'd do something about the but like I say, I'm a new broadcaster, so give me a little time to get grooved, and we're just going to see how things go. I want to give a shout out to the woman at Sprouts for making me a superior veggie sandwich today. I have splurged about some chips to go with it. Just for whatever reason, I needed more chips than the little meal deal bags. We got a decent sized one, so we'll have something to nosh on while I'm waiting for the Laguna Beach Democratic Club. I always like getting those things a little early and see if I can offer any help. It's just one of those good impression things, and yeah, if you can, as a general rule in life, if you can help somebody, it's probably a good idea. Just like, why not? I don't. I'm sure that's a minority position. The prevalent position seems to be the gangplank theory. Like, I've got mine. Sorry about you. I'm pulling up the gangplank because I've got mine and you don't. So you don't let anybody restrict your freedom of movement. In a strange way, it's almost why another reason to not like airplane travel is your freedom of movement. It's pretty much restricted to the to the plane. At least when you're I mean, and God only knows how long it can be. So yes, freedom of movement is nothing to be trifled with. And another person we're to give a shout out to. Hang on. I can't believe that's still even warm. But anyway, that's a kid who works at Taco Bell. Not Taco Bell, sorry, Del Taco at Superior and 17th Street, right next door to the Walgreens, across from Allen Tire. And anyway, this kid named Angel who always makes sure my burrito is absolutely perfect and my fries are the way I like them. So we'd like to give a good old shout out to good old what's his name, good old Angel at the Del Taco. Yeah, I don't. I was just teasing about good old what's his name. Yeah, I'm sure. So yeah, I think I figured out one the kind of frown why other people frown on bringing drinks into a recording studio. I mean, this is just I would never make it through this podcast with on this chat actually without a mug of coffee of some sort. And the women at Starbucks, I said they've been on, but it seems like every Starbucks is at least competent. And I don't want to remind me another time we'll chat about the new barista, but it might be better if we left that topic for another day. But yeah, the reason drinking, whether it's coffee or whatever, on TV or radio doesn't work is because when you're like drinking or moving your cup to and from, whatever you're doing, then it's like dead air. And at this point, I've heard enough radio guys to say that dead air is like the enemy. And I wish and I'd rather think of it as not really the enemy, but as something to be avoided. You see, and just oh, by the way, just in case somebody asked me the other day what my favorite boat was, and I had to tell them the boat I was sailing because it's like a race car driver. His favorite track is the one he's on. These guys need to be super positive while being super aggressive and all that. So more power to the NASCAR guys. I think we're going to come to an informal agreement to get as close to 3:30 as possible, and then kind of mosey on out of here and get ready for the Laguna Beach Democratic Club. Their meeting starts, I think, at maybe 6 to 8, and I try to be there a little early and leaving here at 4 and gives me time to kind of yetz around and drive down and not rush and have a seat and all that stuff and schmooze. And why would I look forward to schmoozing at the Laguna Beach Democratic Club? I would look forward to schmoozing at the Laguna Beach Democratic Club because this is democracyradionetwork.com, and we would like to have as many people join us as possible. And Laguna Beach is, it's a nice little commute. So, and as I was on Coast Highway the other day, of course, it was a nice day, and it was a crowded day on Coast Highway, and all I could think of was, how can you be mad at someone that's on Coast Highway on a nice sunny day? Well, it's Coast Highway. I mean, no wonder it's gonna be crowded. As a matter of fact, at the I know all the finer restaurants in town. At the Taco Bell on Coast Highway across from Orange Coast College Sailing Center and the Bay Club and all that. If you're there, like any given Saturday or Sunday morning, I guess Sunday morning's probably better, you'll see it'll be like a car show with what you see go by. I mean, just, really nice vintage cars that are, owned by really nice, well-heeled people. And geez, I always hate when a sailboat goes by. It's like so distracting. So sorry, guys, but if I could, we would be doing this broadcast from my boat that I don't have. Uh, who knows? A nice old Swan 65, maybe re-rigged with as much electric power as possible. Power winches, stowaway main. I'm sure it's Burling Jib and all that. The main would be the big deal because I mean that's if you had some. I'm sure those main electric main halyard winches. I'm sure they turn fairly slow. I'm sure they're self-tailing and all that, but uh, well, yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Just to press a button on, you'd obviously have the ability to keep the boat head too, no matter what was going on, because, you don't have to leave the wheel. It's just right there. And you tap the button and the halyard starts going up. And that just seems really cool. I mean, getting a big sail, it takes a lot of work and a lot of time, relatively speaking. And an electric winch just seems great. And so does coming down. I'm sure you've got those lazy jack stays for the sail to come down nice and easy. Assuming that's if it's horizontal. If it's vertical and furls around some inner part of the mast, so be it too. I would, Now, I don't know if you give up a whole lot of like pointing ability with that, but it's like Bill James used to say, speed makes you look awfully smart. So, if you can speed away from them, just put trees on them, whatever, but everything else later, just, stay ahead when you can, when you can't, make them work till the mass falls down. I mean, don't exactly make their mass fall down, but make them earn it. That's another reason to be really bummed about my friend Rick Henniger's passing in Charleston on Mount Pleasant. I've known Rick and Leslie since it was Rick Henniger and Leslie Fowler from James Island and all that. Extreme. Rick was just a big guy, good family. Always knew the right thing to do. You may not have always followed it, but Rick was pretty much a true north kind of guy. And our mutual friend had called and let me know, and I just couldn't. Apparently just had a heart attack. So with that in mind, let's make this Democracy Radio Network a success and have people join us and call in at 949-629-3820 and let us know what's going on. If you're so inclined, hit the donate button. We would like to be the first entry into making not a rival, but an analogous entity to make we want this to be the Democrat as successful as Republican talk show, AM talk shows. This is a talk show for Democrats, and I purely exist to help Democrats get elected. 2026, 2028. Let's go, guys. I mean, I carry my voter's registration card with me just in case. So this is an election not to be missed. And I say the real, in addition to the big races, please pay attention to the Office of Superintendent of Education. Pay attention to everything. Everything from your district, council member on up. That joke about somebody for dog catcher, vote for somebody for dog catcher. Well, as long as they're going to deed by the name, vote for them.
That's the object of the game. We need as many Democratic voters to vote for us, either in person or by mail, and to document your answer or your choices. Just in case there's a little cheating involved, which you would have to be more than suspect about, considering the recent seizure of voter rolls from Georgia, California, and Arizona. That's really tough to do. Broadcast for 4 hours, so I said, well, we'll keep going until 3:30 for whatever reason. This is 3:18 on April 16th. This is Abby Kaufman, your somewhat savvy political host of the Abby Kaufman Show on DemocracyRadioNetwork.com. Oh, excuse me, we are. We're not burping, that's for sure. Uh, we are here, sore throat, stuffy nose, and all on Thursday afternoon for you guys. And truthfully, we're kind of glad to be able to do this. And maybe one day we'll get some other boats in the background for us. Yeah, I don't know how people handle it. Ugh. Oh. Sorry about that, guys. A little more dead air. We just, let's just start to get a little backache and all that, so something a little cranky. And nobody wants to be around a cranky Abby Kaufman, I promise. Let's see how those little markets did today. Let's see. Huh. How does this keep going up? I just, I don't know. No. So, a Trump regulator promising a crackdown. If he does, it's on everybody but Trump. Okay. All right, guys, let's go back to our live stream. Oh, this is mail. Thanks. I don't really need to know that. But it's nice to always have a clean inbox, or at least as much as possible. I don't think there's anything else worth pursuing this way. Yeah, I don't know if I can really do that. When how you do that? I mean, I was like $150 short anyway. So, I made the best decision I could under the circumstances. Come now, forever hold your peace, or that whatever that wedding thing is. But this is kind of a nice place to broadcast from. Along the other side of the room has some really nice background stuff. There's this, these lights, like the upper part of the wall, and so much light comes through. The angle is just a lot sharper than it is in a back table where I am. And where I am is our undisclosed secret location here in Newport Beach on Newport Harbor, California. On Thursday, April the 16th, it is How about that? 3:20, and you know what that means? Only another hour till 4:20. But we're gonna check out around 3:30ish. I said my throat's getting a little dry and sore, and I'm not really used to doing this. At least not so low. And there's like, oh yeah, or mostly solo we did get a little background music going just because we could. And let's get one final look here. God, how does this market keep going up? I just don't know. If anybody's got any thoughts on that, call in and let us know. This is your host, Abby Kaufman at democracyradionetwork.com. Give us a call at 949-629-3820 and let us know what's going on. What kind of inflation are you experiencing? It doesn't matter that you are. Are you wealthy enough that it doesn't, how fine would you be with, and, $10 a gallon. Let's try $20 a gallon. At $20 a gallon, my 18-gallon fuel tank, by my schoolboy math, would be like $160. So, I mean, $360. Sorry. So it's just fiscal irresponsibility, and there's no doubt that there's some questionable economic moves the states has made, but but Trump just made the most damaging one with the Iran war. His policies were already predicted to produce a range-bound stock index with high unemployment, and not every day, but it's not uncommon to see 5,000, 10,000 job layoffs at massive places, once or twice a week. And pretty soon you start affecting people. And I can't imagine how they haven't run out of voters yet. How Republicans keep afloat is just it seems like one of the great mysteries of the 2026s. When you host your radio show, you can kind of stretch back like that. Nobody really complains, and there's no note from management that we'd like to chat a little bit. Yeah, do watch out for those chats. It's sometimes it's not exactly what you bargained for. Sometimes it just makes you like really anxious and your heart races. And then sometimes you just think about, being in a crowd and laughing. But then there's the guy that was all suspense with a drum roll and the rim shot. How about let's do it one more time. How about that? Now, just out of curiosity, is anybody feeling particularly bouncy? Boing, 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 boing. Sorry about that, guys. That was a little too much fun here. And you know what happens if I did that on the Gong Show? You know what J.P. Morgan would do, right? That's right. She would bang the gong as only J.P. Morgan could. All right, guys, we're in like the home stretch, the last 5 minutes before we cut out at 3:30. My back's kind of sore, and we've been not exactly tearing up the charts today. I hope everybody's kind of enjoyed doing this. I've enjoyed making the broadcast, and I invite any Democrat anywhere, anytime to join us. Email me, and we'll set it up. And in the meantime, this your somewhat savvy political host, Abby Kaufman. And remember, the number here is 949 629 3820. That's 949 629 3820. And if you can remember this, we are united at Radio Democracy, democracyradionetwork.com. Scroll down, you see it at the bottom on our webpage, and let us know what is on your mind, what guests you would like to hear from, what's been your experience at the grocery store and the gas station. I mean, can you afford this? And like I say, so I'm sure some people can. Equally sure some people can't. So, and the only way I will know is if you call and tell me. And just like the sticker on the mug says, silence is compliance. Shout louder. DemocracyRadioNetwork.com. So please remember us from like 12 o'clock noon on Pacific time. Help us build an audience and accomplish our goal of electing Democrats, and more Democrats. And as much of a partisan nature as this is, it's the only way out of this mess. The Democrats have been right so many times. You can point the finger in a lot of directions for 2024, but the fact remains that, Trump got more votes than Kamala. So that's just a talk about a wrong of historic proportions. Whether you liked her or not, she was clearly more qualified than that, idiot moron orangutan that cheated his way into politics again, this time by trying to rewrite the history of January 6th and painting the insurrection and the armed attack on the Capitol as a friendly interlude. Or he may not know that big of a word, but one can only hope. But anyway, what we'd like to do is go ahead and check out right now. I am your host, Abby Kaufman, DemocracyRadioNetwork.com. Call us at 949-629-3820. Drop by the website, have a listen, hit the donate button. We're glad to have you. So for Thursday afternoon, April 16th, this is Abby Kaufman signing off from DemocracyRadioNetwork.com. Thanks, guys. And let's